Unlocking the dream code, your inner GPS. Every night, when you close your eyes and the visible world dissolves, you cross a threshold. Behind you lies the waking life you know, the bills, the errands, the familiar faces, and before you opens a vast, luminous wilderness. Here the rules are not the same. Here the earth may breathe, the sky may hum with colors never seen by the human eye, and the dead may sit beside you as if they never left. This is the dreamscape, a place where your soul wanders freely, unbound by time, unburdened by the gravity of the physical world. To most, dreams seem like a private theater of the mind, where the subconscious plays its curious and sometimes confusing productions. But the mystics have always known, dreams are far more than the mind's random chatter. They are maps, messages, and mirrors. They are the soul's GPS, guiding you toward your highest alignment. The ancient reverence for dreams. If we step back into history, we find that in nearly every ancient culture, dreams were not dismissed as nonsense. They were treated as sacred communication. Egypt, the sacred letters of the gods. In ancient Egypt, dreams were considered divine messages. The temples of Serapis and Thoth had entire chambers dedicated to dream incubation. A seeker would fast, purify themselves with ritual baths, and sleep within the temple, praying for a dream that would reveal healing or guidance. Priests trained for decades would interpret these visions, believing them to be letters from the gods, sealed in the envelopes of symbols. The Egyptian Book of Dreams lists over 200 dream images and their meanings, but the interpretations were always adjusted to the dreamer's personal life. A black cat in a merchant's dream was different from a black cat in a priest's dream. Already they knew, dreams speak in a personal dialect. Greece, the oracle of the night. The Greeks followed a similar path. In the temples of Asclepius, the god of healing, seekers would lie on sacred skins in a process called enkoemesis. During the night, Asclepius or his divine helpers would appear in a dream to diagnose and prescribe. Sometimes the dream would reveal herbs to be taken, sometimes a pilgrimage to be made, and sometimes, as one ancient inscription records, a change of heart was the medicine. To them, the dream was not simply a mental product. It was a visitation. Vedic India. Dreams as states of consciousness. The Upanishads, some of the oldest spiritual texts on earth, describe three primary states of consciousness: waking Jagrat, dreaming Svapna, and deep sleep Sushupti. In the dream state, the soul, Atman, moves freely, unbound by the physical body. The Chandogya Upanishad says, "In dreams the soul shines by its own light." Here, dreams are not fantasy. They are another layer of reality equally valid as waking life. Native and indigenous traditions. Among many Native American nations, dreams are seen as a bridge between the human and spirit worlds. The Ojibwe tradition speaks of the dream catcher, not merely as a decoration, but as a spiritual filter that catches harmful dreams and lets through those meant for guidance. For the Iroquois, dreams were messages from the other side camp, a place where the spirits of ancestors reside. Recurring nightmares, the persistent teacher. Nightmares are often our first clue that dreams hold more weight than we think. That same chasing figure, that same dark water, returning again and again. To the untrained mind, these are disturbances. To the mystic, they are urgent telegrams from the soul. Let me tell you a story. A woman named Elara dreamt for years of being chased through narrow streets by a faceless man. Every time she turned a corner, he was there. She would wake up breathless. When she finally began to work with the dream, journaling it, sitting in meditation to re-enter it, she dared to stop running. In the dream, she turned and asked the figure, "Who are you?" The faceless man removed his hood. It was her younger self, a version of her at 17, holding a diary she had burned in shame. The nightmare stopped. In waking life, she began to write again, recovering her voice. Lesson: the nightmare is not your enemy. It is the part of you that has been ignored, knocking on the door until you listen. Recurring nightmares, the persistent teacher. Nightmares are often our first clue that dreams hold more weight than we think. That same chasing figure, that same dark water, returning again and again. To the untrained mind, these are disturbances. To the mystic, they are urgent telegrams from the soul. Let me tell you a story. A woman named Elara dreamt for years of being chased through narrow streets by a faceless man. Every time she turned a corner, he was there. She would wake up breathless. When she finally began to work with the dream, journaling it, sitting in meditation to re-enter it, she dared to stop running. In the dream, she turned and asked the figure, "Who are you?" The faceless man removed his hood. It was her younger self, a version of her at 17, holding a diary she had burned in shame. The nightmare stopped. In waking life, she began to write again, recovering her voice. Lesson: the nightmare is not your enemy. It is the part of you that has been ignored, knocking on the door until you listen. Why dream dictionaries miss the mark. We live in a time of shortcuts. A quick search for meaning of seeing a snake in a dream will tell you one thing. But the soul does not speak in fixed codes. For a farmer in rural India, a snake might be a sign of fertility and good harvest. For someone bitten as a child, it might signal fear or warning. For a yogi, it might be the awakening of Kundalini, the coiled spiritual energy. This is why true dream work requires personal reflection. The question is not what does the book say, but what does my soul say? Forgotten dreams, silent downloads from the soul. You may sometimes wake knowing you dreamt something profound, but it slips away like mist in the sun. Mystics see these as silent downloads, transmissions from your higher self or guides that are not meant to be understood by the waking mind, but felt in the subtle body. Tibetan dream yoga teaches that such dreams are not lost. They work like seeds in the subconscious, sprouting as intuition, sudden clarity, or an unexplainable peace weeks or months later. They are like letters written in invisible ink, revealed when the right light touches them. Meditative practice: preparing to receive your dreams. If you wish to begin working consciously with your dreams, here is a nightly ritual drawn from multiple traditions. Purify: before bed, light a candle or incense. Let the day's noise settle. If possible, bathe or wash your hands and face. Set intention. Place a journal beside your bed. Say aloud or silently, "Tonight, I am open to receiving guidance for my highest good." Visualize. Imagine a doorway of light. See yourself stepping through it into a realm where your soul can speak freely. Sleep with awareness. As you drift, remind yourself, "I am the witness in waking and in dreaming." Over time, your dreams will grow more vivid and your recall will strengthen. The dream world is not separate from you, it is you, unfiltered, unmasked, untamed. In waking life, we see the tip of the iceberg of the self. In dreams, we see what lies beneath, the currents that move us, the forces that shape our choices, the truths we are not yet ready to speak aloud. The more you honor this nightly journey, the more your soul will trust you with its deeper maps. The language of the subconscious, beyond the literal. Dreams do not speak in the language of the marketplace. They do not bargain in plain sentences, nor do they hand us neatly labeled instructions. The tongue of the dream world is older than the first spoken word. It is a mythic language carved deep into the soul, where image and emotion are the primary currency. The silent language of symbols. Imagine a desert. In your waking mind, you might think hot, empty, dry. But in a dream, that desert might be the land of initiation, a place where the ego is stripped bare so that the essence can emerge. The desert could be a trial, a purification, or a spiritual womb in disguise. One of the most important truths in dream interpretation, and one that many forget, is that symbols are alive. They are not dead pictures in a book. They breathe, they change, they shift their meaning depending on the dreamer's soul journey. Mythological echoes and symbols. The ancients understood this far better than we do. In ancient Egypt, the dream was seen as a portal to the Duat, the unseen world. If you dreamt of a falcon, it might be the god Horus speaking, guiding you toward clarity and royal purpose. But that same falcon, if wounded, could be a warning that your sight, your inner vision, was in danger. In the Greek temples of Asclepius, the god of healing often visited in dreams disguised as a serpent. Patients would sleep in sacred chambers, awaiting the dream serpent's message. The snake might wind gently around them, a sign of renewal, or strike, signifying that a painful truth must be faced before healing could begin. In the Hindu epics, dreams were gateways where gods and demons tested the hero's resolve. A river crossing in a dream could be the subconscious showing that the dreamer is on the threshold between one life chapter and another, a samsaric crossing toward liberation. Case study: the chasing figure. Let us take a common dream, being chased. The modern mind quickly assumes, "I am afraid, I am running from danger." But from the dream mystic's point of view, this scene is rich with nuance. A woman once described to me a recurring dream of being chased through a dense forest by a shadowy man. She would always wake before being caught. In symbolic terms, the forest is the deep subconscious, a wild place ungoverned by logic. The shadowy man is not necessarily an enemy, but an unintegrated part of her psyche, perhaps her own suppressed strength, her hidden passion, or a truth she refuses to confront. The act of running shows resistance to transformation. When she finally turned to face the figure in a later dream, he handed her a glowing key. This was the moment her inner language shifted from fear to invitation. Emotion, the compass of the dream world. In waking life, we often ignore emotion, prioritizing reason and analysis. But in dreams, emotion is the most trustworthy compass. If you dream of a golden temple but feel dread instead of awe, the meaning changes entirely. Dreams will cloak themselves in beauty or horror, but the feeling tone reveals the true message. This is why the same image can mean opposite things for different dreamers. A snake might fill one person with fear, signaling danger in their personal myth, while another feels deep peace, indicating awakening and kundalini rising. Archetypes, the ancient players in your night theater. In the vast theater of the dream world, there are recurring actors, archetypes, that have walked through human dreams for millennia. The wise old man/woman, not a literal elder but the soul's inner sage. The monster or beast, the shadow self demanding acknowledgement. The child, innocence, potential, or a call to return to the uncorrupted self. When these archetypes appear, they are not random, they are your personal myth intersecting with the collective myth of humanity. A meditative entry into dream language. If you wish to begin decoding your own symbols, recall one dream image from last night, even if it's just a fragment. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. Let the image float before you without forcing meaning. Ask the image, "What are you here to show me?" Listen without judgment. The answer may come as a word, a memory, or simply a shift in feeling. This is not about analysis, it is about conversation. And every conversation you have with your dream world deepens the bond between the waking self and the soul self. Practical tools for dream interpretation, your personal guide. If part 2 was about learning the language of dreams, part 3 is about building your own scriptorium, a place where your nightly messages can be caught, recorded, and woven into the fabric of your waking life. In the old world, such a place was not just a desk with a notebook. It was a temple chamber, a sanctuary. And if we are to work with dreams in the spirit of the ancients, we must restore that sense of reverence to the way we gather them. Dream temples and the sacred act of recording. Across the Mediterranean and beyond, entire sanctuaries were dedicated to dream incubation, places where seekers would journey for days, sometimes weeks, to prepare themselves for a single night's sleep. The Asclepian at Epidaurus in Greece welcomed pilgrims who would bathe, fast, and pray before lying in the Abaton, the sacred sleeping chamber. They believed the god Asclepius would visit them in dreams, bringing visions of healing. The Egyptian temple of Serapis was known as a gateway where the gods spoke through symbolic images. Scribes waited in the morning to record the dreams of priests and petitioners alike. In ancient Mesopotamia, priests of the moon gods kept detailed clay tablets of dream omens, linking certain symbols with events in the physical world. These were not dream journals in the modern sense. They were ritual archives where the dream was considered holy. The dream journal method, a modern sacred archive. In our own time, the dream journal is our portable temple. But to work in the old way, you must treat it as more than a spiral notebook or an app. Choose a dedicated book, one that feels significant. Leather-bound, handmade paper, or even a plain notebook you decorate with symbols that resonate with you. Prepare it ritually. Before writing your first dream, write a blessing on the inside cover. "Here, I gather the whispers of my soul." Record immediately upon waking, even if only fragments remain. Time is the enemy of dream recall. Within minutes, most dreams dissolve. Include feelings and sensory details, the texture of the dream air, the weight of a shadow, the sound of unseen footsteps. These hold meaning as much as the imagery. Date and title your dreams. Titles act like handles you can grab later when reviewing patterns. Case study, The Dream That Changed a Path. A young man began keeping a journal after months of recurring dreams about a crumbling bridge. At first, he recorded only the literal details. But over time, by reading his entries side by side, he saw the bridge appeared every time he faced a difficult choice in life. When the bridge finally collapsed in one dream, and he found himself swimming instead of falling, he realized the dream was showing him that safety was not in the bridge, old structures, but in his own ability to adapt, swimming. Shortly after, he left a job that had been draining his spirit, trusting his own capacity to navigate uncertainty. Active imagination, re-entering the dream. The Swiss psychologist Carl Jung called this practice active imagination, a way of re-entering a dream while awake, to continue the conversation with your subconscious. Here's how it can be done in a meditative frame. Sit quietly and close your eyes. Recall the dream in as much detail as possible. See yourself back in the dream landscape. Approach the symbol or figure you remember most vividly, the door, the stranger, the river. Ask it a question, "Why have you come?" or "What do you need me to know?" Listen without forcing. The answer may come in images, feelings, or even a sudden insight. In ancient dream temples, priests often guided seekers through this process, helping them find the missing piece of a dream that woke them before its conclusion. Looking for patterns, the hidden threads. One dream is a spark, a series of dreams is a constellation. By reviewing months or years of entries, you may find symbols that recur. A certain animal, a recurring house, the same weather. Pattern example. A woman noticed that every time she was on the cusp of a major relationship decision, she dreamt of standing in a room with only one window, sometimes open, sometimes locked. Over time, she realized that the window's state mirrored her openness or resistance to emotional vulnerability. Patterns show us that the subconscious is not random, it is consistent in its symbolic storytelling. A moonlit practice for dream work. For those who wish to infuse their dream practice with more mystical resonance, align your journaling with the moon phases. New moon, incubate dreams about beginnings. Full moon, receive clarity on current challenges. Waning moon, explore dreams about release and letting go. Before sleep, step outside, look at the moon, and invite her to illuminate your inner world. This practice echoes traditions from Babylon to the Celts, where the moon was seen as the guardian of dreams. Dreams as a spiritual compass. Navigating your journey. In every ancient culture, dreams were not just night visions, they were maps. Maps that pointed the soul toward its next trial, next transformation, or even next lifetime. Some dreams are like whispers from the psyche, others are like thunder from the soul. When the latter arrive, they are not random, they are directional signs on the inner road. When the dream world meets the waking world. There is a phenomenon the ancients called the two mirrors, when events in waking life and dream life reflect one another so precisely that they seem part of the same story. In the Egyptian Book of the Dead, dreams that mirrored waking omens were seen as direct communications from the Ka, the double of the soul, guiding one's fate. In the Sufi tradition, such moments are called true dreams, ruya, believed to carry divine truth and requiring deep contemplation. Among the Hopi, the meeting of dream and waking signs is seen as a joining of worlds, signaling that spirit is near. Modern psychology calls this synchronicity, but the feeling is the same, an uncanny recognition that reality has been listening to you. Case study, the white feather path. A woman dreamt of walking along a path scattered with white feathers. 2 days later, on an aimless walk in her city, she found an identical path of white feathers, leading to a small bookstore. Inside, she discovered a book on grief that became her lifeline after the sudden loss of her father. Her dream had not predicted an event, it had prepared her heart to recognize the moment when it arrived. Dreams of past life echoes. Some dreams carry the strange taste of a life you do not consciously remember, landscapes you've never visited, yet know intimately, faces you've never met, yet love fiercely. In the Vedic texts, these are sometimes called smrti, memory impressions from previous incarnations, carried in the subtle body. The Tibetans teach that the dream state is one of the easiest ways to glimpse the Bardo realms, the in-between states where soul journeys occur between births. In Greek mystery traditions, initiates of Eleusis often dreamt of fields of light or shadowed rivers, which they believed to be thresholds between lifetimes. Case example, the Sea Village. A man in New York had recurring dreams of repairing fishing nets in a small Mediterranean village. Decades later, while traveling in Greece, he stumbled into a harbor identical to his dream. Locals greeted him with unusual familiarity, and an elderly fisherman even swore they had worked together in youth, though the man had never been there in this life. Dreams that glimpse the future. Precognitive dreams, those that hint at events not yet lived, are well documented in history. Abraham Lincoln dreamt of his own funeral just days before his assassination. Joan of Arc claimed her military missions were shown to her in dreams by saintly figures. Nostradamus credited his prophetic visions to nocturnal revelations during sleep. These are not to be chased recklessly, the future in dreams is rarely fixed. The deeper gift is in showing what is possible, not what is inevitable. Connecting with the higher self through dreams. Your higher self, call it the soul, Atman, divine spark, is often more accessible in dreams than in waking life. Why? Because the noise of ego is softened, and the symbols of the subconscious can rise to the surface. A nightly invocation for higher guidance. Before sleep, say aloud, I open the gate to my higher knowing. May what is shown be for my greatest good, and for the good of all. This is not superstition. It is an act of alignment, tuning your awareness to receive wisdom without distortion. Closing meditative practice, the dreamer's compass. This final practice is a rite, a way to anchor the wisdom of your dreams into your waking life. Preparation: sit in a quiet space, candle lit. Place your dream journal before you. Recall: bring to mind a recent dream that felt charged or significant. Center: place one hand on your heart, the other on your belly. Breathe deeply, feeling the breath connect your physical body to your dream body. Dialogue: imagine the dream symbol, a place, object, or figure, standing before you. Ask: where are you pointing me? Receive: allow any word, image, or sensation to arise without judgment. Anchor: write down the message in your journal. Draw a simple compass beside it, with a symbol at the direction the dream pointed you toward. Over time, this compass will not just map your dreams, it will chart your soul's evolution.